Hey everybody, in this video we are talking about producer surplus, and the good news is, guys, it's easy. It's just as easy as consumer surplus once you understand what you're doing and how to read the graph. Here is the definition of producer surplus. It is the amount the benefit of selling a good, which is the price. First of all, you got to have that down, right? To the supplier, price is a benefit, right? To the demander, price is a cost, but to the supplier, price is a benefit. So what is the producer surplus? It is the amount the benefit of selling a good, i.e. the price, exceeds the cost of providing that good for all the goods that are supplied, for all the goods that are provided, right? That's what producer surplus is. One more time, it's the amount the benefits of selling or providing the good exceed the cost of selling or providing the good for all the goods that are sold, for all the goods that are provided, right? That is the key. So let's get graphical, right? So here's my graph right here. One of the big things that we always want students to understand is the marginal cost curve is the supply curve, or vice versa, the supply curve is the marginal cost curve. If you've ever wondered, why is the supply curve where the supply curve is at? It is because that supply curve is made up of a bunch of dots that sit above goods, okay? Made up of a bunch of dots, there's my dots, that sit above goods, and the vertical distance between the horizontal axis and the dot is the cost of supplying that particular good, i.e. the marginal cost. That's why the supply curve is where the supply curve is at. That is so important for students to understand. Once they understand that, guys, things just get easier in economics, okay? So what you see here is I got my marginal cost curve, again, which is my supply curve, right? The foundation of the supply curve is the marginal cost curve. And I've got a price marked, okay? Now, I've just marked a price because I don't have a demand curve. What determines prices is the interaction of supply and demand. So I'm just saying, let's imagine that the market is telling us that the price of the good is right here, okay? So the interaction of supply and demand has determined the price, and the price is right here. Now remember what I said, guys. Price is a benefit, right? It's the benefit of selling the good to the supplier. Another way to say it is it's the per unit revenue. Revenue represents benefit, okay, to a business. Revenue represents benefit. And what's the price? It's the per unit revenue the supplier is going to get. So the price is representing the benefit of supplying the good. And again, the dots that make up the marginal cost curve or supply curve, guys, those are measuring cost of supplying that particular good. That's the marginal cost. The marginal cost is getting the cost at a per unit level. And that's why I have dollars per unit here. It's very important for students to understand this vertical axis right here is measuring more than just price. This vertical axis in just this particular diagram is measuring price. You can see that right there, but it's also measuring marginal cost, okay? And we use this vertical axis to measure so much more than just that as we get more sophisticated diagrams. But for this diagram, we're using these values right here to measure price and marginal cost. So again, for that first good, that vertical distance right there is the cost of providing that good. And for the second good, this is the cost of providing the second good. So important that students understand that this vertical distance is not the cost of supplying two goods, it's the cost of supplying the second good. That's a different thing, guys. It's not measuring the total cost of providing two goods, it's measuring marginal cost, the cost of supplying this particular good, okay? So this is measuring the cost of supplying the second good. So here's the thing, guys. We're just doing marginal analysis. And what marginal analysis means is we do all things for which the marginal benefit, the benefit per unit, exceeds the marginal cost, the cost per unit. And we don't do any more than that, okay? Once the cost per unit exceeds the benefit, we stop. We don't do those things. So go back to our graph. How many goods or which goods are going to be supplied, okay? We're definitely going to supply the first good because the benefit, the price, right, measured vertically, is greater than the cost. And this distance right here, that vertical distance, that's the surplus, the producer surplus of providing that good. For this second good, this vertical distance, the price, right? That's measuring again the price, there it is. That's the per unit revenue, right, to the producer. Here's the cost of providing the second good. So this vertical distance right there is the surplus from the second good. For the third good, this is the surplus. And for the fourth, that's the surplus, and then the surplus and the surplus. And then for the seventh, guys, we may or may not provide it. It's kind of a wash, guys. The benefit equals the cost. It's not, if we supply it, we're not worse off. If we don't supply it, we're not worse off, because the benefit equals the cost. And so there's just no profit, no loss in supplying that seventh good. We will not supply the 8th, 9th, 10th, or any other goods. Okay, we're not going to supply any goods past 7. Why? Because the cost, right, which is going all the way to the dot, of supplying those goods is greater than the benefit, the price of supplying those goods. So producer surplus, really easy to find, right? Find the price that the supplier is going to receive, okay? Find the price the supplier is going to receive, and then, hey, pay attention to your supply curve, because it is your marginal cost curve, and it's showing you the cost of supplying all your goods, and the difference between the two is the surplus. A lot of times, we're not going to do it at the unit level, right? You're just going to do it for like an entire curve that might have hundreds of thousands of dots. And so a lot of times you're just going to basically do that triangle, right? Oops, didn't do the best job there. You're going to do that triangle, right? There is your producer surplus. And if you take it all the way to the axis when you're doing a big graph that might have hundreds of thousands of dots, nobody cares. But since I've got a zoomed in graph, I'm actually stopping right there. But again, oftentimes when you're doing it with a one that has hundreds of thousands of goods, you'll just see people just go all the way to the axis and say, there it is. That triangle right there is the producer surplus, guys. What is producer surplus? It's the amount, the benefit of providing a good, of selling a good, of supplying a good, right, which is the price, exceeds the cost of providing that good, selling that good, supplying that good, right? It's as simple as that. That's the surplus. The difference between the benefit and the cost is the surplus for all the goods that you supply, provide, supply, sell, right? Sorry about that. Anyhow, I hope that made sense to you. I hope that allows you to understand producer surplus maybe at a slightly deeper level, and I hope it makes it so problems where you have to find the producer surplus are straightforward and easy for you. Hope to see you in the next video. Thanks for tuning in.